Good morning. It's Tuesday.
Good morning.
Bobby Atkins here.
Yeah.
All right. We've been talking for a while. We should have been online.
Yeah, we should have.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
Laughing.
All right. We're talking about a bunch of different things. I said this yesterday, but today is the election day. You need to get out and vote.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, it's very important that you vote because there's a lot of stuff in your hands. If you can control, if you vote, one vote can make a difference. It really can.
I would have to say if people haven't learned in the last couple of years that voting matters, then I don't think they're ever going to get engaged. But it's been really encouraging because family members of mine that, have never voted in their entire life are super engaged. So,
well, you need to be. The question you just have to ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And if you are, don't vote.
Like I say, if you are, tell me your secret.
Well, yeah. Well, they're the ones who have all the money in the tech companies,
I guess, right?
Yeah, they don't get. I'm just saying, you have to look at gas prices, everything. Well, I mean, you also have to look at there's a ship I saw over the weekend that's sitting out of the port that has $2 billion worth of natural gas on it, and it's waiting for the prices to go up before they dock.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like, really.
Yeah.
I thought you predetermined that before you ship it in. You know what I mean? This is what we're buying it for. Anyway, so there you always have all that stuff. But the most important thing I think one of the things we're kind of talking about is there's been a lot of talk about helping the buyer buy their rate down so that they can have a decent rate and a decent payment.
Yeah.
You can spend a lot of money doing that, but you have to look at what is the best number for you. Because now we even have not just a 2-1 buy down, we have a 3-2-1 buy down. I don't know if you know that.
No, I'm not familiar with it. So
yeah. So the difference is instead of just 2% the first year, it's 3% the first year, 2% the second year, and 1% the third year. So you're out almost 4 years before you get to the current rate today.
Yeah.
And what happens is the seller helps buy that down. They put the fund together, pay for that fund. And basically people are like, well, how do you know what the difference is? Well, whatever the rate is that you have and what you're buying it down to, the difference in that payment is what goes into that fund. Yeah. So the first year, there's a 3% difference in that payment that goes in the funds. Because from the beginning, your rate is whatever the end rate is, right? You're just having a fund that buys that payment down per month for the first year, per month for the second year, and per month for the third year.
I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Like that's the way I've been describing it to buyers, right? It's like, okay, the sellers are taking like this nest egg and they're putting it in a separate account, and then the lender is drawing from those two accounts, right? So you're paying your bought down rate, but then the seller is technically paying every month to keep that rate low.
Right. Because if you refinance in the middle of the two, from the 3-2-1, you refinance after the first year, whatever's left in that buy down fund gets applied to principal.
Okay. Yeah. That was the question I was going to ask. Cause for me,
because it can't go anywhere else. It's part of the loan. So it has to be taken. It doesn't just vanish and go away.
So now, do they just throw that all at principal at one time?
Well, your payoff will be lower.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like that. I mean, gotcha. But remember, if you're in the last year of it, 1% difference could only be $150 times 12 months and not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the 2% could be $300. $300 times 12 is $3,600. So we're not talking 20 grand left. The first year is the most expensive year.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But is that clear?
Yeah.
So, and it's everybody's doing them. Don't, if you're going to write an offer, if you're talking to a loan officer, have them tell you what that number is. A lot of people, I don't want to mess with that. No, do it. Make it easier. Because even though we know or we feel rates are going to go down next year right away, you never know. I mean, if today nothing changes and we don't have a balanced government, the whole thing could get worse. We don't know. We've never been here before.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been here where the election to get a balanced government, but we've never been in this type of thing where we came out of a pandemic. The new administration spent and put it in such an inflationary situation that we are where we are right now. You can look at the 70s and some of the 80s. It's kind of similar, but it's nothing like this. There was no pandemic back then.
I was going to say they didn't stop the economy for a couple months, right?
Right. A couple months, almost the first year.
Well, I can say, but like when we're talking about like hard, lockdowns, right?
Right. You couldn't do work. And then who was essential? Who wasn't essential? Who could do this? That was, you're
bringing back all those old feelings, man.
The Spanish flu back in the 1910 or 1920, whatever it was, it was close, but they didn't shut down. They were you didn't know what to do. People just were dying everywhere. So we went through a horrible time. We came out of it. We were taken off, and then they spent a lot of extra money. And don't get me wrong, the current administration at the time maybe did one extra thing that they did that they might not have needed, but they didn't know at the time. But all this extra stuff for, Inflation Reduction Act and all that stuff, even though it didn't reduce inflation, it made it worse. Even though they keep saying that they're reducing the budget and all that kind of stuff, that's because all those things are expiring. All that money is expiring, meaning that they can't take it anymore. So it's automatically going down. So I have a book around here, how to lie with statistics. I can bring it out. We can go through it. You can skew things any way you want it with numbers to make your point.
Yeah. I've seen that so many times, like gun statistics,
Well, it's just, you can change whatever you want. What do you want it to say? We can find you those statistics that support that.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a lot of inflation. It's increased the interest rates, which is messing with the housing market to a certain point. I had kind of an argument over the weekend at an event because someone was telling me that, values are dropping. And I'm like, no, median price is dropping, right? The median, which is some people think it's the average. No, it's this many houses for this price point down here, where's my camera? Down here is selling, not the ones up here.
Yeah.
And that's what median. So that's what everybody's using that as a statistic, saying everything's going down. Yes. We've kind of seen a little in the last year, right? We've seen a couple times where rates jumped, right? And the house went on the market. If you went on the market in that month that rate jumped, your house sat for a few months.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So those houses got unfortunately hit hard. If you look right now on realtor.com or any of those sites, and you look at certain areas, houses are going in 7-8 days now, in 10 days in certain areas like Antioch and other places. Cause I had some people asking me about certain things. And I was like, I'm just curious. And I looked, I was like, wow, even here, things are going. It's just, you have to help buyers.
Yeah. Price it aggressively, or, people see, oh, well, I saw that house went on the market for $550, but they sold at $520. Well, that's because, and that more than likely, you look it up after it closes. Well, no, I was going to say they probably help with like a rate buy down or something like that. Right.
Well, no, because it would still go for the higher price.
Yeah. But sometimes people want to do a price reduction instead of a rate buy down. Either way, right? Like buyers.
Yeah, but that is the worst thing to do.
I agree.
And the reason I say it's the worst thing to do is because when you do the buy down of the value of the house, it maybe saves you $25 a month or $30 a month, but that same amount of money could save you hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah. And that's what's really hard for like a first-time buyer, is explaining the difference, saying like, I know on paper you're looking at it and you're saying, man, I would much rather have a $20,000 price reduction than a $20,000 credit. I'm like, that's not.
Well, you got to run the numbers. All right. So don't just look at numbers. Have your person run the numbers, difference in the payment with the $20,000 difference in the sales price, and have your person run the numbers with $20,000 towards a buy down or just a straight reducing the rate. If it's $300 different and one is $20 difference, the smarter thing is the $300.
Yeah.
Because as soon as one of the things that people don't realize, we're not 2008. We're in a market where people are afraid because they don't know what's going on with everything. Yeah. In 2008, we had a financial crisis. It wasn't people were afraid. Everything fell apart. People stopped working. You lost your job. You lost this. And then you're losing your house because of this. You couldn't sell it. You couldn't do that. We're not there. There's 11 million jobs out there if you want to go get a job to help you if you lost your job in an industry. We
got to get people to fill those jobs now, right?
Right. That's the problem is a lot of people are still at home, don't want to work.
Yeah.
That's what we set up. We need to do better. So how do we do better? There is not a housing crisis. There's an information crisis. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I read that somewhere. I was like, that is totally true. There is no housing crisis. It's information crisis. And the problem is people are listening to the wrong information.
Yeah.
And 2008 was only 20 years ago or it was not that long ago. I can't calculate today on Tuesday. Let me get my calculator out.
Well, and it depends on who you talk to, right? And
right.
This is a quote
14 years ago.
Oh no, I was just going to
say, I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
I counted finally.
It's as far as like in today's market, right?
Right.
I just heard this, so I wish I could take credit for it, but I didn't come up with it. So sellers are thinking it's the market from a year ago, and buyers are thinking it's a market from a year from now, right? So trying to make those two parties understand we got to meet somewhere in the middle. Sellers, we're gonna have to buy down that rate for those buyers to make it reasonable. And buyers, guess what, man? It's still a seller's market. You're not going to rake this seller over the coals and get everything you want
because they don't have to sell.
Yeah,
that's what they don't get. They have 70% equity or 50% equity. They don't have to go anywhere. They could go rent wherever they're moving. They could rent this place out and make a positive cash flow and wait until the market turns around. They're just trying to get their money so they can buy where they're moving to. They're running in the same situation, but they don't have to sell. This is a different market. There's so much equity. It's mind-boggling how much equity out there is in the properties.
Like you said, the people that aren't looking to move, unless they found like their dream home and they want to move up, they're probably sit for a little while. So buyers, if you see a house in the market, let's be nice.
Well, not only that, new builders, right? There's one in Keys and Ceres. They have like 96 homes they're going to do, right? And they've only like sold 3 or 4 of them. They haven't started them, but they're running the same situation where they're going to work with agents, and they don't, they have preferred lenders, but not lenders you have to use.
Yeah.
And they're like, if we get somebody out here, we can get them in the contract and everything and make the difference, right? It's just getting them out here because everybody's afraid. Right. And builders haven't overbuilt in California. They've actually stopped building so they don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's going to make the crisis next year worse. Listen to me. When rates start going down and everybody comes out of the woodwork because they're no longer at 7, we're at 5. And if you buy it down, you can get to 3. You know what I mean? It's going to get to a point where it's going to get to where people are like, okay, it's 21 again. Let's go. And everybody's going to go, but we didn't build any houses. That this crisis is getting worse. That 4 million that we had short, it's going to be 5 million before you know it.
Yeah, it's just a good example of why government should stop manipulating the markets, right?
Well, this is not so much the Fed. Our rates went up way before the Fed raised rates.
I'm just saying, like if there wasn't all this uncertainty, developers would have continually developed over time, right?
Right. Well, the biggest problem was 2008 and then absorbing all those homes. And then there was everybody was afraid to build again, kind of like right now. And then finally they said, oh, we need to build. And now it takes 10 years to get this development going or this development going.
That's always the big thing, right? It's like if they could really limit the bureaucracy that's involved with getting developments going, I think these developers would be much more apt to continue developing, right? Because it almost always seems to fall in a cycle where the economy starts kicking butt, they start developing homes, the economy takes a turn, they stop building homes, right? But that's because they're always on, like you said, it takes 10 years, plan approval and everything like that,
I mean, like Riverbank, though, they're in like 12 months to 2 years. They can get it done fast.
Yeah.
Now, what we need is more factories to build housing in modular homes.
Yeah.
They can build 4 houses a day in a factory. That means they can get a house built in 6 weeks from start to finish, where out on site takes almost a year.
I think that is the future.
It has to be. And I'm talking, these things are amazing. They do 90% of the house in the factory. They bring it out and they have a contractor who does the other 10%, foundation, they put it on, and then he finishes the outside of it the way you want it, right? Because every house is a box or a rectangle, right?
It is, yeah.
It is. So they can build them in a factory. They just, instead of having the architects do a drawing one way, they do it a different way, and you have to do that. I'm even looking at for our place up in Twainhart when we go to do it, because they'll even do it now. They have to do a site thing worth $3,500 to come out and check out the site and all this other stuff. Or you can build one of their normal ones that they have all the time.
That is something I'm excited about seeing, is like the future of new construction, right? Because I mean, they even have 3D printed homes, which is really just extruded concrete. They got to find a way to make them more attractive,
of course, but that will be in time.
Yeah. But efficiency is key, right?
Right. But you could do that for freaking fences, man. Woo, there's your fence. Don't worry, it'll never fall down.
Yeah.
Don't need any trees.
Yeah.
But it's just, we need to get. So I mean, they work three shifts in a factory, right? And there's no stopping. Assembly line, boom, 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 done. That's what we need more of.
Yeah.
And then that would make a huge difference in all. I mean, because you could do a whole 96 homes would be done in 6 months.
Yeah.
And that would help the market, right? Where we only build 100 homes in Modesto a year. We could build much more than that, enough that we need. And in a factory, We need how many though? Only 10. Okay, done.
Yeah.
All right, we'll build these custom ones now.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can beat a whatever. I don't want to say what we can beat, but anyway, beat a drum. There we go. All right. So what we kind of talked about a bunch of different things, but as a seller, work with a buyer. As a buyer, look at buying the rate down using a 3-2-1, using a 2-1, using just buying the rate directly down to a 4% or a 5%. It all depends on what program you have and what your FICO score is. Also work on your FICO score, get that up so you can get a better rate from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Bobby, thanks for being here. I'll see you on Thursday.
All right, man.
All right, everybody get out and vote today and let me know if you voted.
All right.
Or don't.